Hi, this is Imran Amed, founder and CEO of the Business of Fashion. Welcome to the BoF podcast. It's Friday, May 30th. Giancarlo Giammetti first met Valentino Garavani by chance on July 31st, 1960, setting in motion one of fashion's most enduring and most successful creative partnerships. Together, they transformed Valentino into a global fashion powerhouse, celebrated for its elegance, craftsmanship, and cultural influence. In 2016, Mr. Giammetti co-founded the Fondazione Valentino Garavani e Giancarlo Giammetti to preserve their remarkable legacy, promote creativity, and foster charitable and educational initiatives. This week in Rome, I had the honor of sitting down with Mr. Giammetti at PM23, the newly opened home of the foundation located right next to the Valentino headquarters where their journey together first began. In this exclusive interview, Mr. Giammetti reflects on the founding days of Valentino, the importance of protecting creative integrity in a fashion market that prioritizes commercialization, and why it is critical for the industry to support future generations of designers who are increasingly overlooked by a fashion system under growing pressure.
This continuous change of people, using people to cover jobs because the job doesn't go well. So I take another designer, put it in, and then I took another CEO and put over there. Makes a bit confusion, and no one of them really became a part of the legacy of the company. That's what is a big problem today.
During my visit, Mr. Giammetti guided me through the foundation's first exhibit, Horizons Red, which showcases the enduring legacy and influence of Valentino's designs, mixed in with one-of-a-kind pieces of contemporary art. Here's Giancarlo Giammetti on the BoF podcast. Mr. Giammetti, thank you for inviting me here to the new foundation today. I have so many questions to ask you, and I obviously want to ask you about this wonderful new place, but I want to start at the very beginning of your story with Valentino. You first met Mr. Valentino on July 31st, 1960. Tell me, what are your most vivid memories of that first meeting with Mr. Valentino?
Well, I was sitting in a cafe, and this was La Dolce Vita, the moment in which that street, Via Veneto, was really the center of the social life of Rome. Also, don't forget, in the 60s, Rome was called Hollywood on the Tiber.
Okay.
Because a lot of movies were made there. So it was fun to sit there just to watch. Nobody had a table unless you knew somebody important in the bar, in the cafe structure. So my father was a very much involved in the good life of Via Veneto. I had my table. I was waiting for 11 o'clock, where the nightclub called the Pipistrello, the Bat, was open. So I was sitting there all alone, and a lot of activities around me, and a kind person came and said, "Are you alone?" I said, "Yes. Do you mind if me and my friend, can sit here?" Of course, sit. And Valentino sat next to me. And that's the first moment. Of course, is also a moment that I remember very, very deeply. And then Valentino started to talk to me in French, to speak to me in French. I say, "Sorry." And he say, "Oh, sorry, I just arrived from Paris after 7 years. My mind goes French, and I was hoping that you speak French." I say, "Yes, of course, I study French all my life." So he said 3 words. I didn't know what does it mean, of course. And he told me, "From now on, if I see you again, we speak French." And we still do, incredibly. Yes. So this is a bit what started all of it. And then I was leaving for my holidays I was going to Capri, and a few days later I met him there, and then in September I started to see him more and be involved more in his work and his private life, of course.
And then, as they say, like the rest is kind of history. You know, there's so much that's happened since then. You got quite involved in the business of Valentino quite quickly. I mean, when you arrived on the scene, when Mr. Valentino was just starting, how did you get involved? Why did you get involved? And what was the state of the business at that time?
Oh, our business? Oh, better not tell you. But anyway, I remember going to see him. He invited me to see him in his new atelier, an atelier where now I made my office.
Which we were at yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was working on this dress, because this is the dress that he just presented. So the dress was the piece unique of the collection. Every woman want to have that dress, etc. Not every woman, few women, because the business was not amazing. And then I was not a designer, I was not an accountant, I didn't know anything about this, but I knew that there was some problems there, because I started to see him nervous, and they said, what's going on? And finally he told me, I don't have a penny. The investor that my father brought in, they left me, and so I don't know what to do. So I started to say, let me talk with you, to the people, to see if we can understand better what the situation, because he didn't know what was the future. So we made, the accountant say the only way that you can go on with your activity is that you make bankruptcy, which was not bankruptcy, it was a kind of a Chapter 11, the American, but you have to leave the premises immediately. So we left with the truck full of pink, green satin chairs, gold chairs, because of that we were able to steal from the place. And we end up around the corner to a street which was famous for designers, for fashion at the time. It's called the Via Gregoriana. And we rent half of an apartment there to bring our chairs and to bring our atelier, the people working for us. And the other half, the owner of the place, Mrs. Recupito, and they had cats. So the smell of cats was impossible. But in that apartment started to arrive the very important people, from Elizabeth Taylor to Marella Agnelli to all the aristocracy.
So basically you started all over again. You had to start the company from scratch.
Even we changed the status of the company. His mother became the chairman of the company, because he couldn't do it anymore, him. And so we stayed there a couple of years, and then we took the top floor of the place where now the brand is, and then little by little we took all the palace.
So over time, in this creative and business partnership, how did you get involved? What were you responsible for, and what did Mr. Valentino do? And how did you keep those two things kind of separate?
It was normal. I never thought that I should be involved in the fashion part. I was very much involved in the sense that, of course, I was discussing with him. He was showing me everything. If he didn't like something, I told him, which that didn't make any difference, because Valentino was always, get out of here if you don't like it, and look at it, and that kind of stuff. Of course, I decided that around him it was not just a business, like I look at the numbers or things like this. Of course, I had the people doing this with me, but my idea is to develop the business in a very important, like everybody has to know Valentino. And everybody knew Valentino very soon because I started to move the show instead of doing in Rome. We started to work in Florence, which was the heart of the fashion in that moment, or the Palazzo Pitti, where the first time we went, they gave us the wrong side of the calendar, the worst last day. But people start to talk about us. So the room was super full of very important buyers and journalists. And then, of course, the season after, I got the best time, best hours, best everything. But this was my work, understand, is I don't know, to create our own business and our own facade to young people, ambitious maybe, very courageous, and people like that, did like that, yes.
Was there a moment that you remember when you realized this was going to become a success? That, Valentino would kind of transcend just fashion and become a real cultural institution?
Yeah. But don't forget that Italian fashion was never recognized as important as French one until, I guess, 74, when the first pret-à-porter in Milano with Armani, Versace, Ferré. At the time, there was other incredible name, Crizia, start to... So in that moment also, I think there was the moment when Valentino was recognized. Also, even if Jackie Kennedy, already in 68, started to dress as Valentino, I've been seen one dress on a friend of her, and so the collection flew to New York to be presented to the ex-First Lady, because he died just 1 year earlier. In fact, the first big order she made was all in black or black and white. And those are the moments in which I start to understand that we made it. And then Valentino did the all-white collection in 68, which was also very famous. And the first cover, the first Vogue, all those things.
What were the biggest challenges you faced with Mr. Valentino at that time? Because sure, there were these moments where the brand was gaining visibility, all of these very high-profile people were wearing Valentino, but it was still challenging, no, to build a business from scratch, no?
See, it was challenging until we retired.
Yeah.
Fashion, unfortunately, is not just a marvelous, of course, and a difficult business. It's also challenging because there is something always that make you lose sleeping well. I mean, because I always been very much around me those weight to maintain the business, and then later to make him free, which was, I think, one of the best challenge I had, the best, probably, yes, I made it, I guess, to make him free to do what he wants. At the moment it was not possible anymore. I told him, why should we here? Why should we be order what to do, when to do, how many collection? You are not for that. Mm-hmm. And he say, yes, I'm not for that. I'm very unhappy. Let's go.
I mean, this idea of making him feel free and making him feel safe, in a way, the role you played with him was not just as his business partner, but also the person who protected him and kind of shielded him from all of the pressure of the business.
It is. It is still. And this special relationship we had to protect each other, to be the person you call in the morning first and the last at night, because you want to share everything you feel. And yes, this was a lot of work because, of course, life challenged all this, challenged the fact that you want to be with one person all your life. There are too many distractions, especially in the fashion world, which sometimes tend to separate people, tend to make them two different persons that when they begin. And so it was difficult, but still. Valentino came here a few days ago, and he was, of course, very, very pleased. But also, he says something about the show, the clothes. He says something about the purity. I feel that those are pure, and which is true. They are simple and pure. Forget the star inside, the red carpet, the lights, but then the dress is there. And that's what I want to show here, that the clothes are much more than what people think.
You said just now that the fashion industry has a tendency to pull people apart or break people up, but why has your relationship, your working relationship, your personal relationship, why has it endured so long? Like, what are the secrets that you have to maintaining such a long, enduring relationship in the face of so many challenges?
Yeah, because we grew up related so much to each other that we cannot be separate. There is nothing, everything. Even we had, in our private life, some rupture, something that changed our. After a while, we keep doing a family. And that's why we have such a big family, because all of our friends became family with us. And that's the strength, in the meantime, really the need of him and me to relate to each other still.
I watched the Last Emperor documentary last night just for fun because I hadn't seen it for
Last night?
I watched it last night. Yeah. I wanted to remember, because I remember when I first saw the documentary, it painted such an honest portrait of you and Mr. Valentino, your relationship. And it's not like you didn't have disagreements. You had many disagreements, throughout that film, which I thought was like very, as I said, honest. How did you navigate those clashes with him? How did you make it through?
2 hours later, they were gone. So you go back to normal life. It became part of the life, like you shave in the morning. There is so many repetition of the same scene that you don't really suffer anymore. In fact, in the show, it's not that somebody start to cry, or not at all.
In the documentary, part of what's being documented is when you and Mr. Valentino first sold your business, and then it ended up with Mr. Marzotto, and then it ended up with Permira over the course of that documentary. Talk to me about the decision to sell the business and how that felt. And, you were referring earlier to the moment when you and Mr. Valentino started to lose all of the control. And at one stage, you said, basta, it's finished. Like, what were you thinking?
Start? Yeah. Because there were so many offers at a certain time, And I've been always very keen to listen to those offers. I don't know. We started much earlier, in the end of the 70s, 60s. We sold the company to an American company called Kenton, where two entrepreneurs, Mr. Ken Moore and other, bought several brands. He bought Cartier for America, Valentino, Ben Kahn, which for year very important, fake jewelry, but super cool at the time. I don't remember the name now. So he tried to make really like today's LVMH or something like this, except he didn't have the money. So he bought Valentino, and then I started not to pay the installment. So my lawyer got me back without business. So I was always a bit tempted to listen. Also, I felt very lonely sometimes in my side. I thought that having great company with great people inside would help me navigate and expand. And I was quite disappointed on that all my life. So Marzotto came, and if you watch the documentary, you saw how unhappy Valentino was on that, because they were coming and say, the collection is great, but we need another 6 skirt or 12. I was like, well, I don't produce like this. I don't want to do it. So little by little, then they had their own problems, financial. They had to bring inside the other people, per mira, all that. Then was the time that we say, why should we be here in this carousel?
And even, back then, this whole idea of private equity companies, finance people coming into the industry, that was quite new. When you look at the industry today, it's changed so much, right? The business side of the fashion industry is really dictating and driving so many of the decisions. Like, when you see how fashion works today, what do you think about it?
I think it's difficult. It will be much more difficult for me to be here now in business. I wouldn't know. And this continuous change of people, using people to cover jobs, because the job doesn't go well. So I take another designer, put it in, and then I took another CEO and put over there. Makes a bit confusion, and no one of them really become a part of the legacy of the company. That's what is a big problem today. The designers become their own star, they have their own style, and they don't want to really become a witness of the work of the company where they are hired to prolong the life. We have many of them, and I really understand why. Because Valentino was a star, maybe before many other stars in the world. Valentino, Saint Laurent, and then Holston. All those became a personage, very important. Here, everybody who did 2 collections are already on the cover of this and talk like they know the business forever. And this makes a certain discrepancy between what they should do and what they are. They want to work for themselves. They don't work for the companies.
Do you think they're disrespectful of the heritage of these great houses like Valentino, all these like historical houses? So you're saying that the designers are kind of transcending the history of these houses?
Yeah. I think sometimes not just negative, is offensive.
Offensive?
Yeah.
Do you think creating a brand like Valentino today would be possible?
You tell me, how many brand was created since I don't know, the last one I remember is Valli, or maybe Jacquemus is the only one. Why? Of course, it's very difficult. Because I don't think that a big conglomerate want to put money on somebody new. They want to make strength on their own portfolio, the names they have. And then so they change designer over there. But to invest in one talent, I haven't seen anything. You don't remember, don't forget that in the 70s, not just Valentino, 10 years earlier, but Saint Laurent, Carl, who was a more traveler between different houses, but still was his own big name. And then all the Armani, all the Italians, all create the last 10 years. I haven't seen any.
Why do you think that is?
I ask you.
I mean, I think the business side of fashion has become so important. I think that the brands are so big that it's hard for young designers to emerge.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes about the cost that that's going to have on our industry for the future. You know, I think about if we don't nurture smaller, creative talents and businesses today, what will fashion look like 10, 20 years from now?
That's what worries me when they ask me. I don't know what to answer. And this place is also to educate young designer, young artists, and we have to see how, not just educate or just talk or do master class or workshop or whatever. How can we help them to acquire the strength that was not me who gave it to Valentino, but they have to conceive it inside them and explore and expand. Going to talk to big conglomerate and tell I have this designer who really needs help, you have to believe in him. Difficult. And they say, oh, I would like to have a Giammetti in my life. What? Giammetti wouldn't do what he did at the time.
So it kind of brings us to the foundation. You started with Mr. Valentino, the foundation, in 2016.
16, 17.
Yeah. And the motto was beauty creates beauty, right? The whole idea of, preserving the heritage, the stories, the essential pieces of this wonderful house. I mean, what were your goals in creating the foundation? In part, was it to kind of leave a legacy?
For sure. This was the most important of the project we need in the foundation, but there are others. Like I told you before, there is the education part, and every big show like this one, there will be a smaller show where will be dedicated to education. Next one probably will be with a very known artist who she will bring here her own studio, and she will do the work that she does inside for everybody to look and learn. So this is the second part. And then there is a very important part, which is the charitable part. We are working very hard to help children and older people. And we are, in fact, building a quite incredible building inside the biggest hospital in Rome, the Bambin Gesù, where there is no a large place where children and their family can wait to be visited, because the first aid is very, very small. So there is this huge courtyard where they are sitting there in winter or summer without protection. So we are covering that with a nice pavilion. And of course, the biggest hospital in Rome is Gemelli. And the Gemelli has always rooms done by us, a machine done by us. Yes. And now I have an idea about the charity, because I think that at our age, older people are facing difficult to understand what they have to do, because everything is digital. I have to get my retreat, and I have to compose some numbers, codes, and I don't know how to use a computer. And my son is not here. And my wife doesn't understand it like I do understand. What I do? What I do to cover my head if everything has to be a bottom?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Like not a school, but a place where all the people who don't have access because their family is not there or whatever, can go, have the work done, or the work even they can teach.
Like
those
digital
people.
education?
80 years old,
Yeah.
go to school.
Yeah.
Nice.
In the time of the digital era, when everything is moving so quickly, when everything is so fast paced, how do you preserve the timelessness of beauty like this?
It's a different narrative. You don't. I hate fashion museums. I think that to see all the mannequins like Madame Tussauds look really like wax things. I don't think there is a life inside. So I think the digital work, you have to work with that work to project your legacy in a different way. And this was a very normal for us because we always thought about fashion and art as the main things that inspire us. Valentino never made, except exception, any clothes inspired by a great designer. But he did, of course, some design of Hoffman, some of camouflage of Warhol, but not like many others did in an amazing way. No, but the passion was there. And the first thing that we bought were there. And I remember that Fontana with a one cut in white. And Marlborough Gallery told me, you should have it. I didn't have the money. I say, okay, let me see. No, you should have it, and then 6 months from now, I sell it for double. I said, okay. So I took the place, this stuff, so beautiful white Fontana with one cut, right? I go home. I was still living with my father and mother. And my father say, when do you open it? He thought it was the box. Inside there would be the painting. And this is the beginning of our passion for art.
Let's talk a little bit about the opening exhibition, because the exhibition and the foundation opened just over the weekend. You created this permanent home, and this exhibition is called Horizons Red. I mean, clearly we can see, the red, the Valentino red is everywhere here. You've curated it with a bunch of art pieces, but maybe the most important piece from Mr. Valentino's heritage is this fiesta dress, which I think is the birth of the whole idea of Valentino red. Can you tell us a little bit about the story of this dress and why it's such an important part of the kind of heritage?
Was it really the beginning of Valentino? Because when I met him in July, he did show this dress at the end of '59. So it was very much there, and the few clients that we had all wanted this dress. And when I asked Valentino, what is so special in this dress, that it became such a symbol of his work, and he told me that he learned this little bit, how can I say, composition that becomes a flower from a dress that Mr. Jean Dessay, where Valentino worked, did it for Maria Felix, the famous Mexican actress. And there was a completely different proportion, but he learned there how the tulle can become like a draping. And I think what is interesting, even strangely, he didn't repeat very much of this dress, even if the rose are part, of course, of his work. But I remember very well, also because it is exactly when I met him. So I was around his dress all the time.
And then you selected and worked to curate the museum or the foundation rather, with so many different art pieces. Do you have any favorites? Like, what are the pieces here that mean the most to you personally?
Just behind you, maybe, the little Picasso, which is the earlier of all, describes so much, not just the color red, but the attitude of the figurative expression of a woman is really incredibly strong. It's the only figurative we have with the Marlene Dumas, other woman. Yes, true. No, it was fun, it was difficult, it was exciting to find where the most important pieces in red, inspired by the red color, great artists, where they were. So we made a lot of research, every museum, but mostly, believe or not, are from private collection. Mm. There is very little from museums. And at a certain moment, then the rumor that I was looking for red start to go around. So people would call me, I have a great red. Look, they offer me that Clifford Steele, which is quite incredible. Mm. But exactly in this way. I know that you're looking for red. What about this? Oh, how big is this? 3 meters by 3. I say, okay, yes.
Absolutely. So how does it feel? Because you've been working on this foundation for a long time. When it opened over the weekend, I'm sure it was very emotional for you to have everybody here to finally unveil this to the public. How are you feeling?
The most important emotion was when Valentino came 2 days earlier. Valentino doesn't walk well, so he doesn't want to be seen on a wheelchair. That's all the secret for which he's not here every moment. That was the emotion. All the rest was a great excitement because everybody seems to like the show, which was what I really wanted.
So let's talk a little bit about the future. With the foundation now open, with the legacy secured, I mean, what do you hope this foundation will offer to people in the years to come, even after you and Mr. Valentino aren't here to show people around?
First, I have to find the people who will help people, but definitely this principle of the foundation are very clear. It is based on education, protection of the legacy, and charity. So this is very, very, very well understood, well explained to our successor or to the board, to the advisory board. So I hope that this is going to be always the keys to the future.
I also wanted to ask your advice for young, creative people working today who want to work in fashion. I know the industry, as we've discussed, the industry is very different. It's become a big business. But for people who want to build something special that lasts, build a partnership that lasts, what advice do you have to offer to them?
It's too easy to say, be yourself, don't have people tell you what to do, don't listen to podcasts, don't read the paper, don't look at television to see the show somebody else, because you cannot get distracted. You have to believe in yourself and do what you want. Is this a possibility today? I'm not sure, but that's what I would like to see.
And to have energy, sustained energy over a lifetime. I mean, I've been watching and observing you these past, few days that we've been here. You have so much energy.
Really?
Where does it come from that you're still so driven and so curious and so energetic? How can I be that way?
I don't know what.
No, in the future,
Okay.
how do you keep it for so long?
There is no medication, unfortunately. It's my passion, my respect for what I have to do, I respect for the people who approach us, and gratitude for so many friends and who came to see us. Like, how can you have a better stimulant, can you say that, than pride and happiness?
So that's the secret. Just surround yourself with people who support you
That.
and who sustain you. And for Mr. Valentino, how is he today? You just said earlier he doesn't want to be seen anymore.
No, he's perfectly well. Health well is perfect. It's just the problem that he doesn't move the same way that he did.
Okay.
And for him, he prefers to stay calm and listen to me tell him at night what happened in the day.
So you still talk to him every day?
Yeah, a bit earlier than before.
Yeah.
Around 8 o'clock, but it is, of course, twice a day.
Okay. Well, I'm really grateful for having this time with you.
I love talking to you.
It's really special what you and Mr. Valentino have created. And I hope that it sets an example for people who are trying to create something that lasts. The thing that I think is still present in fashion, even if everything has changed, is we have so many talented young people.
Yeah.
And I hope that they can look to what you and Mr. Valentino have created as an example, even if the industry has changed, because the true test of creating legacy is something that lasts forever. And I think you've done that. So thank you on behalf of the industry and on behalf of everybody, thank you for what you've left
Thank you
behind.
very much.
I appreciate it.